All right, folks, City Podcast. I am one of your hosts, and until later, your only co-host for this show, Mr. Gary Hill. This is a funny episode because it's supposed to be a lot bigger. We were supposed to do like a whole week of these surf reviews, and I was going through some shit, and never could quite get it together. So you know what? I'm putting up the two that we have now with a short rundown of stuff that I watched for this, if that helps you guys out any, which is an ample amount of stuff for a massive surf excursion into the surf genre as a whole. I think I cover a little bit of everything here. All the hot waves brought on by King Neptune himself. Speaking of which, the first thing that I watched was the Endless Summer, which was one of the bigger documentaries at the time, made by a guy named Bruce Brown, who was a professional surfer. He and filmmaker. He'd been doing these surf films at this point for like 10 years now, and popularized them to the point where this movie was made on about 50 grand and grossed about $11 million, and that's in 1964. Let's see. $64. Yeah, $1964. Filmed incredible. I have to say, the ones that are about surfing and made, for that community or whatnot, were made incredibly well. This is no exception. About two guys who go to Australia to find the big wave. They're always looking for the big wave in his movies a lot of the times, and these guys, of course, find it, and brotherhood, camaraderie, yada 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 yada. It's very well made. Not silly, nothing like that. But if you want to watch a beautiful film about surfing and beautifully shot, The Endless Summer is for you. If you've never seen it before, even if you're not a surf enthusiast, this film is 50 some years old, 1966. Yeah, almost 60 years old now, and yeah, go check it out if you could find it. It is available many places. Let's look real fast, shall we? Included with Prime, easiest place to find it right there, or Tubi with ads. Go check out The Endless Summer. It's a wild ride, if you will. Next thing I watched for this is this is freaking silly, but in a really good way. What begat the surf genre? It begat films like Bikini Beach from 1964. This is a Frankie and Annette jam, directed by William Asher, written by William Asher as well. Typical stuff: boyfriend, girlfriend, having a good summer on the beach. Played by Frankie and Annette, of course. She gets jealous. I mean, he gets jealous when he starts looking at somebody else in their fucking hot car. There's hot rod races. There's a scientist in the film for some reason, but this sounds stupid. It's a lot of fun. Oh my god! Who has a guy in a gorilla suit who's supposed to be, a gorilla, of course, who's trying to prove to the world that teenagers are stupid, and this ape can do things that they can do like nobody's business. And it sounds really stupid, but you know what? You get a guy in an ape suit, running around. You get a guy in an ape suit on a surfboard surfing, and it's hilarious. This film, like a couple other Frankie and Ed films, stars Don Rickles as well, who's a delight in these movies. Again, it's for nostalgia. They knew what film they were in. Keenan Wynn plays the scientist in this movie. I forgot all about that. And check out Bikini Beach. It's again another one that's on Prime, I believe. I'm gonna look right now and tell you it is included with Prime and Tubi. But yeah, if you ever said, what, I don't need to watch Frankie and Ed film. Those things are stupid. I grew up on these because I watched Back to the Beach in the 80s, and this popped up. I had no idea who they were. I wasn't a Mickey Mouse fan person, and Mickey Mouse Club fan, and that came out when my parents were kids. So, but watching these now as an adult, you just see the fun of them. I gotta say that I would watch more of these voluntarily, and featuring little Stevie Wonder. probably about 14 or something here. We're really young, just doing this thing. But yeah, Bikini Beach. Turn your brain off. Think about a guy in a gorilla suit on a surfboard, and think about them singing and dancing, being all 1964. It's a fucking delight. Just go check it out. Oh my gosh. The next one is it should have been more fun. This film called The Sweet Ride. Your basic plot synopsis is this: in a Malibu rented home, a tennis hustler, a surfer, and a musician enjoy a bohemian lifestyle, fall in love with an unexpected female visitor, and fight it off with a motorcycle punk gang. See, now with that plot synopsis, you think you were getting like this really like the film I discussed last time, but it takes itself way too seriously. It stars Anthony Franciosa, who you may know from like The Godfather and stuff like that. A hot debut of Jacqueline Bisset. And boy, she looks good in the bikini. I'm not even gonna lie. Bob Denver, Gilligan himself, Maynard Flash from Dobie Gillis, playing pretty much a combination of the two characters. Like, what if Maynard grew up and became a bohemian surfer that doesn't really surf? And Michael Sarrazin, who's in a lot of good stuff here. He's known for They Shoot Horses, Don't They? The Gumball Rally. You should check him out in those things. Good times. Had a big TV career later on. I thought there was a lot more. Earth, the Final Conflict. I remember that show. I'm just reading down the list here, guys. Excuse me, I'm spacing. But this film is basically a group of guys who live in a beach house. See a hot girl on the beach, never seen before. Of course, it's dibs, be first. They all fall in love, and then the stuff I described happens. There's a biker gang involved, and then there's knob subplots involved, and to where somebody would find the comedy very uncomfortable nowadays because Bob Denver's character gets drafted to Vietnam, and he goes into the recruiting office as a gay man to try to get out of it. Good old Choo Choo Burns is the character's name in this movie. So that's something that happens in 1968. Don't ask, don't tell. And I don't want to talk about like military politics now, but I'm sure there's a lot of it the same way because macho pricks join the military and I guess would want to beat the shit out of a more homosexual man. But that's here nor there. Toxic male culture's got to stop, guys. I digress. This is okay. Kind of hard to find. I would recommend going to go seek it out to say, hey, I really need to see The Sweet Ride. Because for one thing, it's an hour and 50 minutes, and after a while you start to feel that hour and 50 minutes because they're just throwing stuff in there, and dudes getting all mopey because they can't bang Jacqueline Bisset. And the surf stuff looks good, which you get of it. It's not like a real highlight of this movie, but the characters are. It gets very character-driven, just not in a really, really great way. The Sweet Ride, 1968. If you can find it, watch it. If not, you're not missing much. The one next one you can find pretty easily. You could buy it on DVD, Blu-ray, stream it on Prime for a cost. Yeah. This is called Big Wednesday, and this is directed by John Milius. It's from 1978. Features very young and very beefy Jan Michael Vincent, William Catt, and Gary Busey. I don't need to tell you who these people are. You guys can look it up. If you guys don't know, these guys have been in tons of genre stuff, but here they are incredibly young and very beefy looking, and you know what? They're surfers. Your cheap plot synopsis for this film: character study about the lives of some California surfers from the early 60s to the 70s as the Vietnam War erupts and their carefree life. Well, that's one of those guys. Yeah. Basic tale of three friends who like to surf. And you see all their happy surfing times really going great until they have to separate to the point of one who goes insane. You could pick out which one that is, so you should know by now. One goes into married life, the other one goes to war. It's a really a marvel to watch of these surfer films because it showcases all the right things as far as like. Them using film stock for some of the surfing stuff and some stuff they used was real professional surfers to make this movie. Obviously, I think the guys learn how to surf a little bit in this movie, but most of the stuff is professional surfers. The beautiful stuff filmed by John Milius. It looks great, yeah, could go check out Big Wednesday. There's not a whole lot of meat on the bone here to talk about anymore, but besides to say, if you ever want to see these guys like super young and super ripped, in a surfing movie, that's pretty freaking decent. And it doesn't really get too depressing because eventually they do come back in the end and surf one last wave together. And spoiler there, but I have no doubts you'll have emotional charge in watching Big Wednesday. It's a beautiful film, and I own it on Laserdisc, so there's that. Okay, 3 powerhouse actors: Jan Michael Vincent, William Catton, Gary Busey. People you've seen and stuff. If you ever want to see them real young, go check it out. I would recommend it. Big Wednesday. This is where it gets a little more silly. The 2 that we're gonna do, which I will introduce momentarily, and then going into 1989, Red Surf. Now this is a film that began something pretty big. It stars George Clooney in one of his younger acting roles. Doug Savant, who would have a much bigger career on Melrose Place and on Desperate Housewives. Big acting career ahead of him. Dee Dee Pfeiffer, as well as George Clooney, of course. Dee Dee Pfeiffer, who acted in a bunch of these, low rent genre pictures back in the day. I think she was in Vamp. Let's look for Dee Dee Pfeiffer here, because she was in some stuff. I think she may be still acting. Hey, it's still looking good, man. Holy crow. Yeah, last thing she was in was Show Up Big Sky, which I've never seen an episode of, but, she's still acting today, but genre stuff would include... I am unprepared for Dee Dee Pfeiffer. Shows them falling down. She shows up in Red Surf, of course. She's in a film called The All-Nighter, which I was going to cover, which features her, Susanna Hoffs, and Joan Cusack in that movie. Brothers in Arms is another film that I'd like to see. That movie features some cool people. Where else am I at here? I am at... Oh, yeah, she was in Vamp. I was close. An underrated Albert Pune film involving teens called Dangerously Close. Go check that film out. Moving Violations. She worked a lot, Dee Dee Pfeiffer. Holy crap. I digress, though. Also stars Philip McKeon, took a guy called True Blue, who didn't act in a whole lot of stuff. I thought he was in more stuff. Maybe because he had like Rick Rossovich face. It's very strange. And Gene Simmons as Doc, our aged surfer man who we'll get into it. He's like the Skip of this group, that like the guy that ran Dogtown skating. Skip Engelum. There we go. He's like that, but these are surfers, so it's different, I guess, but not really. I digress. Cheap plot synopsis: surfer enjoys life with drug money together with his gang in 1980s California. His girlfriend is pregnant and will not be in the house with drugs and guns, and is going to go to Portland, Oregon. So lame, but IMDb. Can he quit the drugs, the gang, or is this the last big deal? Well, the drug deals are basically... These guys are former surfers, competitive surfers, who get into the dope game by going out into the ocean on their fancy water vehicles. I think they're like jet skis, but they have like... It's weird, these things. They're like jet skis / motorcycles. Kind of badass, actually. And they steal dope. I mean, they go collect dope from these buoys, and this is their whole game, with Gene Simmons, coordinating all this, and eventually, it goes bad for them, as they do in the drug game, and George Clooney is in. Doug Savant is not in. These is Remar and Attila, respectively. Yeah, again, it says it all in plot stuff. His girlfriend's in the balance. She's pregnant. Wants him to get out. Attila's her baby daddy, and it's really dull. But you know what? This is like Point Break before Point Break happened. So there's that. But it is a lesser Point Break, and I would recommend you watch it. Just check out some young George Clooney coif with the hair and looking good. But just becoming unhinged through this whole film because, it's more and more pressure. And there's films that's done this better. But, for nostalgia, I'd say go check it out. It is available on Tubi, of course, to go check out for free. But also available on Vinegar Syndrome Blu-ray if you guys are ever so inclined to go purchase this film. And the last one I'll talk about is a film from my childhood. I was 12 years. No, I was 12 years old when this came out. Surf Ninjas, from 1993, starring the great Ernie Reyes Jr. and Ernie Reyes Sr. respectively. Yeah, father and son doing some great martial arts together, which is truly the highlight of this film. Just seeing those two together doing their thing. Basically, two boys who have a very white father. They know that he's not their father, of course. But their caregiver are thrown into shambles when they start getting attacked by gangs in their coastal town, and they use their freaking surf skills and their ninja skills, along with Rob Schneider and Tone Loc, to take on ugly-faced, bronze-faced Leslie Nielsen as a Polynesian dictator, I guess. Not even trying to do a voice or anything, so I respect him for that. This is directed by Neil Israel, who gave us some great 90s fare, I think. Let's go on here. No, 80s fare. Real Genius, Bachelor Party, Look Who's Talking To, Police, was a writer on Police Academy, directed. The Brady Bunch in the White House. Yikes. Oh my gosh. Yeah, a lot of 80s stuff that you would enjoy. Moving Violations he directed, I mentioned. Dee Dee Pfeiffer, here she is again. Combat High, another freaking delightful ripoff of Police Academy. But Surf Ninjas is it's a piece of the time that I enjoy quite a bit because I was 12 years old when this came out. Ernie Reyes Jr. was coming in hot off of his 80s stuff when he was younger, and of course as Kino in Ninja Turtles Part 2, The Secret of the Ooze, and very fun. What's cool about this is it really, again, you can see father and son together, kicking all kinds of ass, but it digs into like the Polynesian surfing roots, if you will, because they find out that they're princes of this faraway country, this coastal island country, and it's just fun to watch. A lot of great martial arts in here. The surfing scenes that you get are quite beautiful, and you know what? It's my kind of silly. Surf Ninjas is my kind of silly. As dumb as it is, as silly as it is, Ernie Reyes Jr. is charismatic as hell, along with the rest of the guys for the ride. Just go watch Surf Ninjas. It's available on Tubi right now, apparently, but maybe not, because it's a harder film to find if you want to, like, stream it somewhere, which is fucking shameful. But, yes, Surf Ninjas, highly recommended. Am I ashamed that I went out on that? No, I am not ashamed I went on Surf Ninjas. But up next, right up next, Mr. Venom was delighted to join me for two of these reviews that we did full-length reviews for. That is Surf Nazis Must Die and Surf 2, which I think we're going to start with a very toxic and very, very silly and very funny Surf 2 right after the trailer.
In the great tradition of American classics, we bring you Surf 2, the end of the trilogy. The surf wars continue when a mad genius pollutes innocent surfer youth and the free beaches of America.
Do you know how many brain surgeons, nuclear physicists, or Nobel laureates have been surfers? I'll tell you, none.
It's a sprawling surf saga of rebellion, romance,
I'm Bob.
adventure beneath boiling seas, struggle against uncontrolled substances, and a race to the death by freedom fighters, protecting your right to surf and the American way.
You must be from L.A.
Surf 2, with music by the Stray Cats, Oingo Boingo, Split Ends, the Circle Jerks, the Beach Boys, and more. Surf 2, the adventure that dares to trash school, police, parents, the beach itself, and the two greatest American institutions of all time.
Don't stop innocent kids from drinking cola and surfing. It's the American way.
It's the final confrontation of the Surf Wars trilogy. If you missed Surf 1, you owe it to yourself to see Surf 2.
Punks and creeps. Think these guys would be mature enough to take surfing seriously?
It's twice the fun of Surf 1. Surf 2.
In October, lots of folks are doing the horror thing, and that's fine. I'm going to do some horror stuff later on in the month, but these 8 reviews are all about the surfspoitation genre that I didn't know there was so much of. So I said, let's do some of these. Why not 8 of them? Because you gotta love goofy stuff like this. To help me in on this one, you may know him from many, many things, including Fresh Cuts, No More Room in Hell, and God knows what else he has going on. Mr. Venom, how you doing, sir?
Greetings and salutations, my friend. Yeah, I'm doing great. How have you been?
I've been away for a while, but I'm glad to be less stressed and back in the game again. I guess I have my spells. I guess like an old lady would call them. You know. But you're always freaking busy, and I love listening to your stuff for sure, man.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I try to stay busy.
All right, we're here to discuss a crazy film. And it could only be made in the '80s. Surf 2, not a sequel, guys, okay? There was a Surf 1, aka Surf 2, the end of the trilogy. So yeah, it's that kind of movie. Oh, God. Yeah, that's my cat's making noise now. I'm gonna read the wiki one, I think, you know. No, fuck that, you know. Basically, this film is about a bunch of surfer kids, you know, who you know, love the crazy '80s beach concept, and they wronged a dude played by Eddie Deason, and who kind of had to be a chemist. And the plot of this movie, the basic plot of this movie, there's a lot going on in this crazy fucking movie. As this guy makes a soda, I guess made from oil because it's made in a fucking refinery. He plans to, I guess, turn these kids who wronged him into surfing zombies that he can control to rig a surf contest at the end of this movie. That's basically what's going on in this movie. It's got a big ass cast that I think you'll know a lot of the people from. Eddie Deason, I mentioned as Menlo Schwarzer, your crazy scientist. Linda, yeah, he's been in tons of stuff. I ain't got to tell you guys where Eddie Deason's from. He's been in tons of stuff. The girl that plays Sparkle in the film, his sidekick, was in some great stuff. This movie, of course, Fade to Black. The one with that guy from It, who I forget his name, but that's a good one. That's a pretty big classic right there. Vicious Lips and Alien from L.A., which I think is a Fred Olin Ray joint. No, it's Al Rapune joint. I'm sorry, I'm getting my genre directors mixed up. Eric Stoltz, you know, from many things. He's in this movie, basically reprising his role from fucking Fast Times, just playing this airheaded surfer. And but he has more lines in this movie, though. Peter Isaacson as Dr. Beaker, who I know as the horny guy from Meatballs 2, who's always trying to bed down that woman in the forest and never works out. The great Tom Ballard as Jocko Finley, who you know from many things. One Crazy Summer, Popcorn, Die Too Young, unfortunately. One of my favorite 80s honeys, Corinne Bohrer as Cindy Lou. You may know her from Joysticks and Police Academy 4 and Zapped. And, man, she's in some stuff, man. And vice versa, which was a big rental for me. She plays Judge Reinhold Squeeze in that movie. Lucinda Dooling as Lindy Sue. She wasn't in a whole lot, so we're gonna skip over her. But that's Cindy Lou's. Lindy Sue is her name. I'm sorry. The great Cleavon Little as Principal Daddy-O. You know that because they say, "Hey, Daddy-O," when he shows up. You know, it's a gag in this movie. It works or it doesn't work. Lyle Wagner, you know from many things, including Wonder Woman, the TV show, as Chief Boyardee. Yeah, it's that kind of movie. Ron Palillo, you may know as Horseshack from Welcome Back, Kotter, and dying hilariously at the beginning of Friday the 13th Part 6. Yeah, he gets impaled real bad. But he plays Inspector Underwear. Again, that kind of movie. But, Brink Stevens shows up as uncredited in this movie. If you probably blink, you miss her. The great Terry Kaiser shows up in a young role in this movie as one of the fathers, as is Ruth Buzzy. Fun stuff, and the cats are making noise. So I will ask you first and foremost, Venom, what your thoughts are on Surf 2, not a sequel.
All right, well, for this one, this was actually a first-time watch for me. When you gave me the opportunity to kind of join you for a couple of these surf movies, I kind of wanted to do one that I've seen before that, you know, that I love, which will be the other episode, and then one that I've never seen before. I figured you might as well, you know, expand my surf exploitation knowledge. And when I saw Eddie Deason in this one, and when I saw the word zombies, of course, my interest was piqued. So I decided to join you for this one. So, like I said, this is a first time watch for me. And first and foremost, before I get into any of what I want to say about the movie, I will happily admit that had I seen this movie in the 80s when it was a little bit newer, maybe even in the 90s, early 90s, when it was only about 10 to 12 years old, I probably would have enjoyed it a lot more. I probably would have gotten into the whole gag of the whole thing and the over the top silliness of it. But as a 50-plus-year-old cinephile watching this for the first time in 2023, man, I had a hard time wrapping my head around this one. Yes, funny at times. There's a few moments that are legitimately funny. Eric Stoltz does a great job. Eddie Deason is Eddie Deason. I mean, what can you say about the man? He is our quintessential nerd, and he will forever be our quintessential nerd. Terry Kaiser, I would have loved to have seen more of him in here, but this isn't his vehicle, so his role as a dad was fine. Awesome seeing Ruth Buzzy and Cleavon Little in here, Ron Palillo, just, so many great names that, I've enjoyed throughout my life. My wife and I are actually big Carol Burnett. So instantly I recognized Lyle Wagner as Chief Boyardee. I actually thought his name was Chef Boyardee, but then when I zoomed in on his badge, I actually saw that it says Chief Boyardee, and I'm like, oh, okay, that works too. That's a nice little gag. So overall, this is just a very weird movie. I don't know, Eddie Deason's, Menlo Schwarzer's motivation for this whole thing just seems really, really disjointed. Obviously, this is not a movie to be taken seriously. And I think I would be doing this movie a disservice if I did take it too seriously, which, when I watch something for the first time in 2023, I might take things a little bit too seriously. I don't drink. I try to be of clear mind and everything else. And this movie is just not that type of movie. This is the kind of movie that you watch with friends, on a Saturday night with some brews, maybe some other enjoyables as well. But as sitting in my house by myself watching it was a struggle to wrap my head around this. The character of Sparkle I thought was pretty cool. I don't understand why Menlo took all this credit for making her, from taking her from an ugly duckling to the beautiful swan that she is now, when ultimately she would have grown into that anyway. So obviously that's him kind of gaslighting her and putting her, kind of under his thumb so that she doesn't leave or quit the scheme, whatever the case may be. The whole thing with the soda is so unbelievable. Like, it's one thing if it was like a secret ingredient maybe that Eddie Deason added at the factory, but it's like, no, this is just the standard formula for this soda. It rolls off the shelf pretty much ready to make anybody who drinks it into a mindless zombie. And that's just so crazy to wrap my head around, after, being a cinephile for this long and blah, blah, blah. I'm trying not to let my logical brain take over because this is not a logical movie and it's not meant to be taken logically at all. So if you take it as just a goofy farce, it's a fun little movie. It has its moments. It's not too long. It's got a nice little hour and 40 or so minute runtime. So no, it's 90 minutes actually. I'm thinking of our other movie. So you got a solid 90 minutes, nice runtime, not a lot of waiting to get to the quote unquote action, if you will. Admittedly, zombie attacks don't really occur until the third act. The zombies are present earlier in the film, but for some reason they're a little bit more docile and easier to deal with. But then later in the film, like I said, in the third act, at the party the night before the surfing competition, suddenly the zombies go berserk and actually start attacking people. So that element of it was different and pretty cool. I did enjoy that. Eddie Deason, man, he really leans into his strengths. I mean, like I said, he is our quintessential nerd, and it doesn't seem like he ever really attempts to do anything but be our quintessential nerd. And again, not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, go with your strengths. If you do something well, stick with it, So I won't give him too much flack, if you will, for this one. He's Eddie Deason in this one. He's, there are scenes in here where he just starts dancing for no reason. It's equal parts funny and equal parts head scratching. Like, what is going on in this movie? And then the final conflict or the final confrontation, if you will, turns out to be so uneventful that it just kind of leaves you scratching your head like, was there actually a fight, or did they just kind of dance around a little bit and then the zombies just kind of came out? And man, like, I'm still trying to wrap my head around everything that I saw in this movie. So I don't want to pan this movie necessarily. If you were going to take this movie seriously, you probably wouldn't give it a very high rating. But if you look at it as like, a Saturday afternoon, silly, over the top meatballs style comedy, then I think there's a lot of good things to behold here. I did laugh out loud at a couple of the gags. It was great seeing a lot of these actors that I haven't seen in a long time. So overall, I did enjoy my time with it. I don't know that this is one that I'll need to return to. But as I started this review, had I seen this in the 80s, I definitely feel like I would have enjoyed it more. My mentality in the 80s was a little bit more in line with the comedy of this movie, just kind of the toilet humor and over the top silliness of the plot and everything else. But as a 50-plus-year-old cinephile in 2023, I can see its qualities, I can see its pluses. It's not necessarily a film for me the way I am today, but like I said, had I seen it in the 80s or even the 90s, I probably would be singing this movie's praises as a comedy classic. But obviously seeing it for the first time now kind of jades my view a little bit. But yeah, I'm going to leave it at that for now. Overall, I had a pretty good time with this movie, though. Man, wrapping your head around the plot and some of the set pieces in this movie is a little bit of a chore. But I think, like I said, you go into it with a good attitude, expecting to have a little bit of fun, I think you're going to enjoy it.
Yeah, it should be said that, the director and writer of this film, Randall Badat, I don't say his last name, he had the idea for this movie. He wrote the screenplay after a real-life surfing accident. He was a real-life surfer in Venice, California, and he had a surfing accident that gave him a concussion. So he wrote this film while he was high on painkillers and quote-unquote being whacked out of his gourd on Demerol. So yep. The original idea came from that, as described as Frankie and It Goes to Hell. Now, I watched this film with the commentary on, and I will tell you, I don't know which version of the film you watched. You probably watched the one that starts without the surfing montage in it. The stock footage surfing montage. It starts with the other one starts with I think them in the water, and then being taken by Eddie Deason, which we find out later that's who he was being taken by, and the glowing lights from the water. That's how the theatrical version starts, because apparently when this film was being made, it was billed to be like a big budget movie, and they didn't like a lot of the places he went with it, because if you watch, they're not two different movies, but they took stuff out and added stuff in to the movie, like a lot of the wide shots of the I guess the sex stuff. There's a scene where there's an overhead shot of a girl getting water poured on her, of course, so you can see how hard her fucking nipples are. There's another wet t-shirt shot of that movie somewhere. And there's this other stat in there, but there's a lot that they took out, which is if you listen to the commentary on, like I said, the director's cut. This is on a Vinegar Syndrome special edition, where you get a commentary by somebody from Vinegar Syndrome and the director. This is a film, much like other films, it was taken from him and had stuff added to it. And I've watched both versions, and I prefer the director's version, because it feels a lot less wacky like an 80s comedy. So if you're going to watch it again, I'd say look for it. Don't pay for it. I'll tell you where to find it. Let's put it that way. Watch that other version of this film. I think your opinion might change slightly. There's a lot of silly stuff is still in there. But beyond that, I'm with you. You got to go into a film like this very fucking silly film, and say, I can't take this from a critical eye. This is what you gotta rate it on a different scale, because essentially, you have, this absurd plot, the nerd getting revenge. It's a constant plot, and Eddie kind of plays the heavy in this movie in a way, but he's still playing Eddie Deason. You don't get that in, like, Laser Blast, where he's just a full-on bully, which is very strange for Eddie Deason. But, I dug it. I could say that, a lot of stuff was done very well in this movie. Some of the gags, even though they're very repetitive, like the Daddy-O, Principal Daddy-O thing, it works so well because Cleavon Little was so cool in everything. I accepted it the whole time. It's like, yeah, hey, Daddy-O, a bunch of kids in the 80s saying that. I'm fine with that, The silly stuff, with the clown shoes fathers making this fucking soda, and there's going to be some cringeworthy stuff in this movie for you guys not to enjoy. There's a line that Terry Kaiser said when he's talking to somebody on the phone while they're in the oil refinery making the soda, where he says, I told you to put the fruit juice next to the gay porno mags, it'll sell better. Stuff like that, will make it cringe like in nowadays, because it's wrong. It's wrong. It was wrong then. It's wrong now. But you know what? This is toilet humor, and it's I guess at its finest. I guess, because there's just a lot of stuff going on in this movie that doesn't make any sense. Like the fat guy that'll eat anything, and can move anything, and I love that stupid character so much for some reason, because he's just this fat guy that pushes things. It's oh my gosh. Yeah. But yeah, the plot of the film is very, very simple. I can appreciate that. A lot of the stock surf scenes you got were good, along with the ones with the stuff they filmed themselves. If you look deep in the cast notes, you can see that Skip Engblom was in this movie as one of the surfers. If you guys don't know who that is the guy who created the Zepper team, in Dogtown, the real life Zepper team, where Stacey Peralta and Tony Alva came from, who later would create their own teams. You guys know who Tony Hawk is and stuff like that, I'm sure. Listeners, I hope you do by now. But, yeah. Oh, Jay Adams. How can I forget? Yeah, missed that guy terribly. But yeah, the whole... I love the way the zombies look in this movie. I mean, they're not like flesh-eating zombies, but they look like mindless punk rock zombies. Like they have cool makeups on and cool hair. So whoever came up with the concept of that, for them not to be like bloodthirsty, just be freaking mindless morons. I love the way they look. I love the way they move. I love the first scene where you see them, where the idiot's getting the Buzz Cola out of the machine and he opens it with his eyeball, which is a trick from John Candy. I want to learn one of these days. Opening the bottle with my eyeball. It's just I want to do that one day. It's all silly though, and one of the biggest things I can take away from the theatrical one to the director's one is that they have a whole sequence where the master of surf rock guitar, Dick Dale, has a whole performance that is taken out of the movie, and I don't know why you would do that for, but, I guess the kids don't know what he is, but if you guys don't know who he is, this is the guy that worked with the Fender company and made amplifiers louder for people, okay? So, you might not have, like hard metal amplifiers if it weren't for this man. So, you should appreciate Dick Dale every day, I guess. If not, that's okay, too. Oh, I'm sorry.
And speaking of Dick Dale, I mean, this soundtrack is actually pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you've got Beach Boys on here, the aforementioned Dick Dale. I mean, all the music in here is licensed, which for a little movie like this, it's like, how the hell did they get the licensing, if they even got the licensing, that is?
Well,
they just used it without permission.
It had plans to make a Capitol Records soundtrack, but the film failed so hard, it never got released. So you don't get like the only way you'll hear this Oingo Boingo song "Hold Me Back," which you hear in the movie quite prominently, is on this soundtrack. Yep. So go search YouTube for that, because it's not on any album, I guess. So
Yeah, it's too bad they didn't release a soundtrack. The soundtrack would have done better than the movie. I mean, it's almost a who's who of surf rock.
Mm-hmm.
That would have been great.
Excellent use of Built for Speed by the Stray Cats, by the way. Yeah.
Yes.
Go for it, brother. I'm sorry, you're saying something.
No, I definitely, I wanted to point out, how great this score is, because that was one of the things that really struck me at first, that this little low budget surf movie from 1982 opens with a Beach Boys song, and I'm thinking, oh, cool, they got the rights to use that one song. But then you watch the movie and it's like, nope, there's 2 more Beach Boys songs. You've got Dick Dale. I mean, you've got some solid, musical numbers on here. And then we haven't even really gotten into the fact that this stuff is called Buzz Cola, which obviously somebody from The Simpsons must love this movie, because as we all know, or at least the Simpsons fans, that's the name of the soda in Springfield. It is, of course, Buzz Cola. The logo is almost the same even. So, obviously somebody on The Simpsons, either like a Matt Groening or James Brooks or Sam Simon, must be a fan of surf movies, because they directly borrowed from this, and I'm okay with it. Usually I'm not the biggest fan of movies borrowing from each other, but when a TV show as big as The Simpsons, one of the biggest shows ever, is borrowing from this little surf movie, I think that's great. If anything, that's just more notoriety for the movie. So yeah, rock on.
Yeah, like I mentioned, the ladies in this movie, I see many other things. Corinne Bohr, I've always had a crush on, though, mostly because of Joysticks, the Graydon Clark film.
Yeah.
She plays a ditzy airhead in that movie, but she's a more assertive airhead in this movie. And I just thought she was very cute, and it's always great to see her in things.
Yeah.
Comes up, sorry.
I was just going to say, it's funny to see the different relationship dynamics with an early 80s movie to today. Like, these girls literally are... They've got these boyfriends. I'm assuming they're boyfriends, or maybe they're just kind of hanging out. But the point is, these 2 very attractive girls, like both of our main girls, I think are very attractive. And they're constantly jealous of Sparkle and any other girl that talks to their boyfriends. It's like, do you have any trust for these guys at all? And obviously, as you watch the movie, it's warranted that they don't have any trust for these guys, because they end up with a couple of naked girls in a lifeguard tower later in the film. But I couldn't get over, and I don't want to say lack of self-esteem, because that was just the time period, but yeah, like, no girl today is going to let her boyfriend constantly hit on other girls, talk about hoot and holler towards other girls. It's just crazy to see the dynamic change with relationships, the gender relationships in this one. It's kind of interesting.
At the same time, though, the time where they're in the lifeguard tower with the topless girls, I love the fact that they're not interested at all. They just keep talking about surf stories,
That is funny. Yeah, I will give them that.
It was a great gag. Like, yeah, if this is a different sex comedy, they'd be all over these girls. But they're so into telling their surf stories that they're not interested in these topless girls that are standing right in front of them. It's like, yeah, just not interested, bro. Yeah.
I'll give them credit for that, definitely. They didn't take the bait, if you will. But obviously, they're more interested in surfing than they are in, getting some strange. So, yeah, rock on for them.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the opening scene with Daddy-O I laugh a lot at, because he has the big, cheerleader's megaphone screaming at the crowd saying, there's been a surf accident, blah, 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 blah. And these kids are still like, hey, let's go party, because this is supposed to be like that 1960s surf movie, but on crack. So these kids don't care about possibly being taken by a possible great white shark, which, great Jaws, reference without ripping it off by just throwing that line out there saying it could be a great white. And, it's a reason to close the beach, I guess. It's just, but they didn't really ride that train super long. I can appreciate that.
And even the even more obvious reference later in the film, where they actually find a piece of the orca. They actually have a piece of wood that has the orca, which of course was Quint's boat in Jaws.
I missed that, but that's great.
Yeah, I couldn't get over that. Like, as soon as they pulled that out, I'm like, wait a minute, does that say orca? I had to rewind it, and it's like, it fucking says orca. Holy shit, that's great.
Oh,
So good.
there's a great part in this movie where once the good doctor has assimilated all these teenagers, he's sunk them all down to his laboratory. He's trying to teach them how to do surfing moves, but he doesn't surf himself. And
Yep.
I don't want to give away his motivation because, again, this is 84, but it's wrong even then. You know, basically, they mix chemicals to give Eddie Deezen boobs. And this is why he wants revenge. And then you see the boobs.
Yeah. Again.
You know, okay, I'm sorry.
Again, this is where the movie has, where you're going to have to really, really practice suspension of disbelief. Because ultimately, if you give a teenage boy female hormones or estrogen, his natural testosterone is going to work it out of there, so he's never going to get boobs. So obviously, they've got some kind of magic chemical there that permanently can give a man boobs. Other than McDonald's, that is, which is how I got my boobs, but that's different.
Well, those are different boobs, yes, indeed, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I have the chicken McNuggets boobs, too, yes.
Filet of fish, man, my weakness, my goddamn weakness. But anyway.
The McRib is back, people, the McRib is back, you know.
Man, after I mourned the McRib last year, now it's back, man. I feel like this is a comic book universe where nobody's ever dead. And I'll come back.
You can't kill the lunchroom sandwich, okay? It's gonna come back again. It's all good, you know.
Oh, it's so funny.
Go ahead, continue, I'm sorry.
No, that was pretty much it. Just like I said, a lot of suspension of disbelief in this movie. But like I said, again, if you go into this movie with the right attitude, you won't roll your eyes too much. Yeah, there's some cringy line deliveries and maybe some cringy acting, blah, blah, blah. But for the most part, you know, we get some really nice surf footage. Like all the surfing montage stuff is actually really nice looking. I mean, between this movie and the other movie we'll be talking about, we got some pretty cool surf montages throughout. I mean, almost like they were taking the surfing seriously, like an Endless Summer type film. I appreciated that. You know, it's like even in a comedy, they still appreciate the sport enough that they take it seriously. At least with the montages, anyway. Maybe not so much with the surf contest, but
no,
you know, that's something different.
that has another motivation, you know. Oh my gosh! Yeah. But like I said, guys, the best way to watch this film, it's on Tubi, but I'm not sure which version's on Tubi because I didn't watch it there. So if you see a version where there's like a surf montage, like a stock footage surf montage at the beginning of it, that is the director's cut. If you see the version where they have two guys that are in the water, which are surrounded by lights that are going to get taken, you know, you find the plot of what's going on there, that is the opener to the theatrical cut. So either way, if you get this movie on a sale, like from like a Vinegar Syndrome sale, I recommend getting it just so you can decide. And it makes a great point of saying that on the commentary. You know, they include both versions on the Blu-ray to say, you know what, you can make the decision on which one you want to watch. You want to watch like this dumb, you know, 1980s whack fest, you know, which the director's cut has plenty of that, but they added plenty of gags in there to make it more 80s and more sellable to teenagers. And or do you want to watch the director's original vision, which I could appreciate either way, you know. But yeah, it's decent to me. Let's put it that way. It just
yeah, it's definitely not a bad movie by any stretch. I mean, some people are going to look at it as a bad movie, but it definitely falls into the it's so bad it's good type thing. I mean, like I said, it's a fun movie. If you watch it with some friends, I think you're going to have a pretty good time. You know, it's not like anybody expects The Godfather when they're going into something called Surf 2.
I had a conversation once. I had a conversation once with a good friend of mine who hates Scott Pilgrim versus the World, and either you love it or you hate it, whatever. But all of his objections, or I told him, I was like, everything you say is true, but I still love it. Okay, I can say that about a lot of movies. You know, a lot of objections to movies that I happen to love.
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
Hey, ultimately, Scott Pilgrim's a live-action video game. If that sounds like something you might enjoy watching, you'll probably like the movie. If you're not into that, then the movie is probably going to be, you know, mind-numbing and head-scratching. But yeah, I'm with you. I love that movie.
But Yeah, yeah, I was gonna do a whole thing here. That's all right though. We'll go into this now. Out of 1 to 10 Buzz Colas, how many Buzz Colas do you give Surf 2?
Like I said, it's enjoyable if you can get past the ludicrous storyline and some of the ludicrous scenarios throughout. If you take it as, just like I said, a goofy comedy that's not to be taken seriously, I would probably give this guy. I mean, I still had issues with it. I still had a lot of issues with some of the story points, some of the acting, blah blah blah. I think I'm going to come in at a 6 out of 10 for this one. 6 out of 10 Buzz Colas, which is just about enough to make me go to the bathroom.
Well, your pee might come out like funny colors too, drinking the Buzz Cola. It's oh my gosh. Yeah, like you said, you can accept stuff like that, and I feel you need to rate films like this on 2 levels. But I'm going to rate it in the genre that it's in, and I'm going to match Mr. Venom's score. I'm going to say 6 Buzz Colas out of 10, and it's a light recommend. If you like what we're laying down, you guys check it out, because I think that it's decent enough for a one-time watch. But like I said, you got to go into it with caution, because you might like the other version better. And I could say that I like the director's vision better than the latter. I watched both of them. So, but yeah, this has been your Burnt Ends. Venom will be right back with me on the next one. I'm looking forward to doing this. It's always been a classic. Surf Nazis Must Die. From Troma, of course. Right after this trailer.
Sometime in the near future, a major earthquake will lay waste to the entire California coastline. From out of the rubble will rise a menace far more terrifying than the death and destruction. Surf Nazis.
Who rules the beaches? Who rules the surfers?
The beautiful beaches, once the crown jewels of California, are now ruled by ruthless gangs. Only one person is powerful enough, daring enough, brave enough to stop them. Only one person can ensure that surf Nazis must die. She's tough.
I want to buy a gun. He's talking like trash, but I'm more interested in something that'll take the head off a honky at 20 pesos.
She's dangerous. She's all woman. She's Leroy's mama. And as long as she's alive, the surf Nazis must die. First, there was the Road Warrior. Then there was the Terminator. Now comes an action film of relentless excitement.
Taste some of Mama's home cooking, Ada.
See the film that is creating a tidal wave of action all over the world. See Surf Nazis Must Die.
Back again to join me for this one. This real gem from back in my childhood and currenthood is Mr. Venom. How you doing, sir?
Greetings and salutations, surfers. Yeah, I'm doing really well. Really looking forward to talking about this one.
Cool, brother. We were talking about, as I promised last episode, staying in the 80s, Surf Nazis Must Die from 1987. This is a film produced by Troma, not directed by Lloyd, directed by Peter George, and written by Peter George and John Ayer. This place, I think they're called like the Corporation or something. I forget what they're called. The Institute is what they call themselves. They made like this one thing, and that's about it though. So it's not crazy important. But your cheapo plot synopsis from IMDb is: when the son of a gun-wielding woman, she had the gun yet, people, is murdered by neo-Nazi surf punks, the post-apocalyptic future, his mama hunts them down for some bloodthirsty revenge. This gets a 3.7. That's not fucking fair on IMDb. You guys need to do better than that. But this stars it's got an interesting cast for some of these people. It has some pretty interesting credits. Let's click on that right now. Gail Neely, who plays Eleanor Mama Washington, she acted in a few things past this. Not a ton, but yeah, she was in a Naked Gun film for a hot second as Winnie Mandela. She did a bunch of TV, including the Wayans brothers and stuff like that. And biggest thing I remember from is Earth Girls Are Easy, because I watched that film like 100 times during my childhood for some reason. So one day we'll do Earth Girls Are Easy because I want to. Robert Hardin is Leroy, her son. Didn't do a whole lot, so I wouldn't talk a whole lot about him. Neither did Barry Brenner, who plays Adolf in this movie. They all have Nazi names, people. But one of the big ones, Dawn Wildsmith, who plays Ava, again, Adolf's lady, if you guys do not know where this goes. She acted in a whole bunch of genre stuff, and I'm going to get into some of that right now. We talked about Eddie Deason last time. She is with him in Beverly Hills Vamp. She shows up in a bunch of Fred Olen Ray stuff, like The Tomb, and Armed Response with Lee Van Cleef and David Carradine. I had to snap my fingers to remember that one. Commando Squad. I think that comes with Carradine too, but she's in Cyclone, which is Fred Olen Ray's film about a supercharged motorcycle opposite Heather Thomas. I had to snap my fingers again for a second there. Hollywood Chainsaw Hookers, again, Fred Olen Ray. And a whole bunch of stuff, though. You probably have seen on USA Up All Night. Alienator, I've seen 6 times on USA Up All Night, probably. Jacko, people know Jacko. She's in a bunch of stuff. One of the big ones I took away from this is the guy who plays Mengele, Michael Saunier, who you may know as his other name, Dookie Flyswatter, who is in a punk band, but he's in a bunch of like films that you have seen. Like he plays like the really racist Swami at the beginning of Nightmare Sisters. He's in Hollywood Chainsaw Hookers as the bartender. Cyclone. Oh, his band is called Haunted Garage, by the way. They have a performance in Cyclone. He's in The Tomb as well. So they share a lot of credits here with Fred Olen Ray stuff. And yeah, that guy's a unique look, and I've always loved him when I see him show up in things. One of the biggest things is there's a character called Smeg, played by Tom Shell, who produces and directs a lot of TV and stuff now, so there's that. But the true star, shining star of all his movies, is Smeg's mom, Bobby Breesy, who is in stuff like Armed Response again. She's in Ghoulies, but one of the big things, that if you haven't seen it, you must see it, is Mausoleum, okay? Mm-hmm. This is a film where she gets possessed by her dead mother or something at a cemetery, and then there's demon tits involved. That's what I'm gonna say, demon tits right now to entice you to watch Mausoleum, because it is absurd and I love it, every minute of it. Yes, Bobby Breesy plays Smeg's mom. That's your basic cheap plot synopsis from there. But basically, there's an earthquake. You find out that I guess destroyed Venice, but not really. So now they have all these gangs that are all split up like Warrior style. There's an Asian gang, there's like a good-looking gang, there's like a beach bum gang, and they're all sort of fighting for supremacy of the beach, but not really. It's just these surf Nazis that are terrorizing everybody and, being semi-racist and, killing folks with hook hands. But I make it sound really bad. But you know what? It's not bad. I'm going to kick it to Venom first and say, Venom, tell us your thoughts on Surf Nazis Must Die.
All right. Well, unlike the other movie that we talked about, this is absolutely not a first-time watch. This is one that I've been watching since right when it came out. I am lucky enough to come from Connecticut. And for those of you who don't know, Trauma, of course, was based in New York, New Jersey. So I was able to get a lot of their releases right away, Sergeant Kabuki Man and Toxic Avenger and stuff like that. Pretty much as soon as they released, I was able to check them out. So Trauma became a favorite studio of mine growing up. It was definitely that guilty pleasure studio where I would enjoy almost everything they put out. And admittedly, Surf Nazis is, as far as the 80s go, is one of the least trauma movies out there. Like, there's still violence in here, but not the over-the-top ridiculous gore that we got with some of the other trauma movies that we got in the early 80s, like some of the aforementioned ones. And the fact that there is a legitimate cohesive story here with a beginning, middle, and end is very untrauma-like. Even when this movie was new, I remember thinking, wow, this feels like an attempt it felt like an attempt for Troma to do a more mainstream movie as opposed to, a lot of their crazy over the top stuff. This one is a little bit more grounded in reality. Neo-Nazis were a thing in the 80s, so it was topical. Surfing obviously was popular in the 80s, so that's even more topical there. But I gotta say, I have a personal love for this movie because for those who don't know me, and not a lot of people do, I am a very vindictive and petty person. I'm the kind of person that if you wrong me, I want you wronged tenfold. Which, obviously doesn't always get you the most amount of friends, but it's just kind of the way I am. And revenge movies are right up my alley. I absolutely love revenge movies, especially when it's warranted revenge. Ultimately, Mama Washington's son does very little to deserve getting murdered. And obviously, in a gangland type movie like this, the victims usually do next to nothing to deserve their fate. But yeah, to actually, to see this guy basically just help an old woman out who had just gotten her purse snatched, and then he gets into a row with Adolf, the gang leader, and then is basically just dispatched for it. It's kind of rough, but ultimately I feel every bit of the frustration that Mama Washington feels in this, and I am so on board for everything she does in this movie. This is her movie. Yes, it's called Surf Nazis Must Die, but this is Mama Washington's vehicle. I mean, she is the one that I care about in this movie. She's the one that I want to see, get her final revenge and, dispatch these idiots who, by the way, I got to say, these guys are terrible planners. I mean, there's all of 5 members in this gang, and they thought they were going to take over the beach. And not a gun among them. And I understand this is the 80s and, maybe post-apocalyptic gun-toting wasn't very popular. Obviously, Mama Washington was able to just go to a pawn shop and get a gun. So I don't know how post-apocalyptic this future really is. There's still pawn shops and there's still nursing homes. So it can't be that post-apocalyptic. But aside from all that, yeah, this movie really speaks to me. I absolutely love Mama Washington's character. I love her interactions with everyone in this movie, be they gang member, a nurse, a store clerk. I mean, one of my favorite lines of all time is in this movie where the pawn shop clerk, when Mama Washington, after her son is taken out, Mama Washington decides to go to a pawn shop to buy a gun. She ends up asking the clerk for a gun, and he hands her this little tiny, 22 or 25 caliber little nothing pea shooter. And he basically says, "Oh, this is a popular gun for the ladies." And her response is, "I'm more interested in something I can take a honky's head off with at 20 paces." I'm sorry, but I am applauding that line.
And I'm fine with it too,
Oh, God, so good. I will say, though, again, there's some suspension of disbelief at while they're in the store clerk tells Mama that's a Walther PPK, which, cinephiles will recognize the Walther PPK as James Bond's gun. Unfortunately, the gun in the movie is not a Walther PPK. It's a Luger. So I guess they're just hoping that people don't know their guns. I myself do know guns, especially if you're going to talk about James Bond's gun. I actually do own a replica. It's not real, but I own a replica of a Walther PPK. And as soon as they said it in the movie, I'm like, that's not a PPK. So yeah, one of those kind of silly things that you might see like in the Goofs or something on IMDb, but I found it kind of funny. But aside from all that, I mean, like I said, Mama Washington drives this movie. Yeah, the gangs are interesting. Like Gary said, you've got the Nazis, you've got kind of the preppy guys, that dress to the nines. You've got that gang, the Pipeliners, that dresses, almost very 80s, but still like well dressed, if you will. And then, of course, the Samurai Surfers, the Asian gang, who, I love all things Asian. So the Samurai Surfers I was on board for all day. But yeah, this movie is such a guilty pleasure. This movie is easily an annual watch for me. I love watching Mama Washington take out these idiots in the most fun ways. You get a really, really fun decapitation towards the end. You get, Mama giving her big one-liner right at the end, right before she pulls the trigger one last time. This movie is just fun personified to me. Now, the funny thing is I can see somebody watching this movie and then the other movie that we talked about. If they watched them both for the first time in 2023, I can kind of see someone just kind of saying that they're just throwaway, crappy 80s movies that, one isn't any better than the other. But because I grew up with this movie, grew up might be a stretch because I was already 18 years old when this movie came out. But I became a man with this movie. Let's go with that. Not in the sexual way, obviously, but in the revenge way. Absolutely. Movies like this, like I said, I'm not the biggest fan of rape revenge because I can't stand rape. I tend to skip the rape part of rape revenge movies a lot. I'll just skip through that scene just to get to the revenge. But when it comes to just sheer revenge movies like this, I am on board for these all day. And the fact that we get this great trauma movie, even though it is kind of a subdued trauma, it's still very solidly trauma. It's got its DNA all over this. Between the decapitation, acid to the face, hooks for hands, this is absolutely a trauma film. But in my opinion, it's one of the better 80s trauma films. Objectively, I'm not just saying as a guilty pleasure. I'm saying that. This movie cost $20,000. That's nothing. And it was shot on 35 millimeter. Most trauma movies early on were shot on 16. So they actually took some care to try to make this movie look more like a Hollywood film. And I appreciate that. And the fact that this movie has such a small budget and you're able to see the things that they're able to do. Obviously, a very guerrilla film shoot. It was shot equal parts Long Beach, Venice, and Huntington Beach. Also, I believe they shot some scenes, but the way that they utilize Long Beach, because I'm from I've been in California for a long time, and I've seen I know people who lived out here in the 80s and 70s, and I hear the stories. Long Beach legitimately looked post-apocalyptic in the 80s. It was kind of a lower income part of California. A lot of the scenes in the movie that actually look post-apocalyptic are not sets. They're actually actual locations at Long Beach at the time. So that kind of guerrilla filmmaking just works so nice for me. I just love that and appreciate it. And aside from that, the fact that we get a really nice, tight story, once again, we get a quick runtime. This one's under 90 minutes. We get an hour and 23 minutes. So it gets to it right away. They established all the members of the Nazis really well. Bruno, Ava, Mengele, Hook, and Adolf. Their personalities are all kind of different enough that you can gravitate towards one maybe more than the other. I really like Bruno. I'm usually, the silent and deadly type of guys. I'm not talking about farts, mind you. But those, characters that don't talk a lot but are absolutely deadly on film, that's the kind of thing. And not that Bruno never speaks. He definitely has lines throughout the movie. But of all the members of the surf Nazis, he's probably the quietest and most down, ready for business, I guess is the best way to put it. He is the quietest and the most ready for business. He's got a great spear gun, harpoon gun, whatever you want to call it. He's got the right look. He's built. Just a really, really cool character. And then, you kind of offset that with the craziness of Hook or Mengele. And it was Mengele who made the switchboard, right? A goddamn surfboard with a switchblade at the tip. That's freaking genius. And then to call it the switchboard, I really did like that. So, yeah, overall, this is a major guilty pleasure for me. I'm not going to sit here and say that it's The Godfather by any stretch, but this is a movie that I love to watch. I love almost all aspects of it. The story works for me. It's simple. It's to the point. It's a very satisfying ending. And there's nothing like watching Mama ride off into the sunset on her Harley. Just what a perfect way to end this film. So, yeah, from beginning to end, this one is an absolute classic to me.
Oh, it was a rental for me for sure. I mean, this one of those ones that's stuck on the shelf. You had the guy with the hook on his hand with a chainsaw fin coming out of the back of the surfboard. You're gonna want to watch this, and I'm damn glad I did, because I was a trauma kid just like you. You know, back in the day, you got some years on it, but you know it was still there, just the same, you know, in my face. And you mentioned the California locations. They had a Hawaii crew too, so.
Yep.
And one of the biggest things that I took from this film, you know, for as low budget as it was, and for as silly as the premise was, it was shot surprisingly very, very well. Especially, you know, the beach scenes and the surf scenes. And, you know, did Mengele, you know, alter any humans? No, they had a budget for this movie, so Mengele just kind of built shit. And that's fine for me as a human being, not enjoying what Mengele did to people. To say, okay, now Mengele just builds shit. I'm cool with that. But yeah, I'm a reader. A lot of what you said. You know, Mama Washington is a reason to watch this movie, because she's what I love the little shit, man. The word her son puts her in a nursing home. I have no idea why. I guess maybe he has to work or something. They never really say why. But she goes to a nursing home, and she hates that she's there, but she's making the most out of it by fucking with the nurse and like starting poker games and shit. And you know, it's hilarious every time. It makes you feel like I'm watching the Jeffersons, because every time you see, you know, George just fucking with the white people, that was the best part of the show. So to see Mama Washington just fuck with white people in this movie, especially the nurse, you couldn't stop laughing. You know, you were there for it, man. It's one of the biggest flaws of the film, I think, is, you know, people like Hook and Mengele, you know, and even Brutus, you know, they kind of outshine Adolf a bit, as far as, like, Adolf being a much bigger character than he could have been. But, that's a small thing. But yeah, I love the gangland aspect of this, because they tried to make the most out of it. Just to say, okay, now the gangs are taking over this beach, but you know, they may be a slight threat, but like the biggest rival is them in between them and the samurai surfers. Which, if anything, again, budgetary reasons, I wish there was a scene where, you know, they had like martial arts weapons on their surfboards attacking the Nazis. I wish that was. I don't care how bad it would have looked. I would just love to see that. Yeah, the whole idea of her revenge is really great, because you get a film like this, you know, there would have been times where, you know, she would have been getting intel on the surf Nazis and wondering what their habits are, blah, 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 blah. It's like, no, she just gets some grenades and guns and a gun from the pawn shop, and she just, you know, goes to town. Where she got the acid from, we don't know. We don't care. It's the thing she has, I guess, you know? She showed as she says when she kills Adolf. Taste some of Mama's home cooking, Adolf. She cooked up that acid at the nursing home or something. I don't know. It's just, you don't care. Yeah. And you mentioned the Luger. As she gets to the pawn shop, you know, it's. I think the pawn shop owner was just stupid, because the Luger had to be deliberate, because it's a German weapon, you know, that was used by the Nazis. So why not have Mama Washington take out Nazis with a Luger? It's perfect. It's perfect. This is how to set up for that.
They should have played with that in the movie. Like they should have, like she should have asked to look at the gun, and then the salesman could have told her, "Oh, this is a German Nazi weapon," and then have Mama make that like smirk of like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna kill Nazis with their own gun." Like I feel like there was a gag there that they missed out on, and instead they went with the James Bond thing, which probably didn't hit for most people.
Yeah, but even then, there's that whole scene where that whole part of the scene where she's like admiring the gun, like it's an extension of herself. Yeah. Like, yeah, I'm gonna use this gun. That's not the gun he said to kill these fucking mean bastards who killed my son. And like I say, he did very little to deserve that, besides, you know, defy the local surf gang. And yeah, it's just there's a lot going on in this movie as far as like their hierarchy or whatnot. You know, Adolf, it much mirrors, you know, the end of the Nazi regime, to where they were losing more and more faith in Adolf, and it seemed like that was going on the whole time in this movie. Like, yeah, they're kind of doing their own thing, and, you know, it says right in the trailer, Hook, the enforcer. You know, he's
He's like Adolf's number one. Just tearing folks up with the random hooks that he has, and it looks like that one hook. It looks like he's gonna play lacrosse with or something. I didn't even know. That thing.
Like a boat oar.
Or a boat oar, yeah. He tied a propeller to his hand or something. It was ridiculous. I mean, again, this is the kind of ridiculous you're there for, because, like I said, shot well. The soundtrack is phenomenal. Again, both these films have great soundtracks, but this is all like synth music that's very well orchestrated. Mm-hmm. And that's the first thing you walk into right in this film, is not just, the whole thing you get in the trailer about, who rules the beaches, surf Nazis. You get that in the beginning, like you do in the trailer, but then you get hit with that great synth soundtrack. And I guess this is available if you can find it from some company that came out in 2014. If you really want to get this soundtrack and own it on vinyl, it exists. But that was a big highlight for me, was the soundtrack to match this movie. And I don't appreciate these things until I'm older. They're Venom. It's a weird thing, these little drops in these low budget movies that I've watched a ton. I've watched this one a ton. If there's a Troma Hall of Fame, you have like 6 titles on your shelf. It's Toxic Avenger, Class of Nukem High, this one, maybe a Rabid Grannies, or Redneck Zombies, stuff like that you have on your shelf. But this is amongst the bigs, and for a lot of great reasons. Like you said, it's not your conventional Troma film. It was produced by Troma, it was distributed by Troma, but this was something they made on nothing, and it looks great. I wish I could find more information on this movie, but I scoured the internet and can't find much on it at all, except the fact that they drew the swastikas backwards on their surfboards and makes it mean a whole different thing.
Yep.
But not a whole lot more to jam down on this film. Anything else from you, my friend?
I love that the director makes a cameo in here and ends up getting killed by Adolf. That's great. Basically, the boat owner, the guy that Mama Washington takes his boat, that's the director. So he's actually driving the boat during the first part of the chase, and then Adolf throws a knife, which, holy shit, if Adolf can be floating in water and throw a knife at a moving boat and hit the driver, maybe Adolf's more badass than I gave him credit for, because that's a high level move right there. That's not exactly easy to do. But again, it's movie, suspension of disbelief. But yeah, just there's so many great things to love about this movie. I feel like we touched on almost all of them. I thought even like Mama's choice of who to take out first, I thought made a lot of sense. Like Brutus was one of the first guys that she took out, which makes a lot of sense because he seemed like he maybe not was the most sadistic guy in the gang, but in my opinion, he was the most efficient killer. Whereas Hook would kind of go overboard, overkill on people and hit them way more than he actually needed to. I feel like Brutus was just a lot more efficient with his harpoon gun, his spear gun. So yeah, obviously Smeg is kind of, sadly, I hate to say it, but he's kind of the bitch of the gang. So it makes sense that he's the one who ends up accidentally giving away the information. Basically, Mama overhears Smeg hitting on a couple of girls, and Smeg is bragging about killing, Mama's son. So that's basically how she finds out who does it. And yeah, it makes so much sense that Smeg is the guy with the big mouth. And then, like I said, just the fact that Mama takes him out in a particular order, right to the point where, just like Gary was saying, just like in actual historic events, it was basically Adolf and Ava at the end. Like everybody else was already gone, and it was just Ava and Adolf, until Ava lost her head. Haha. So yeah, again, this is the sheer definition of guilty pleasure to me. I absolutely adore this film. I love its themes. I love its storytelling. I love its performances. I do wish that Adolf was maybe a little bit more of a pronounced leader. Like when you first see Adolf, he's this skinny guy in a tank top and an ascot, so he doesn't exactly exude leadership. But at the same time, maybe that's how the real Adolf Hitler was. Maybe he was a little bit effeminate for all I know. Who knows? Maybe it's maybe the characterization in the movie is more accurate than even I'm willing to give it credit for. But yeah, I would have liked to have seen a more assertive gang leader, and someone who actually plans a little bit better. Because like I said, there's almost no planning in this movie, to the point where even after Mama first attacks them and sets their surfboards on fire, Adolf thinks that it's a rival gang, and he goes and attacks other gangs. Doesn't even take the time to try to figure out who actually did this to him. So, yeah, like I said, I would have liked. I like a little bit more assertive and, for lack of a better term, manly gang leaders. But Adolf still, he plays his role well. He does what needs to be done. Obviously, you don't want him to be too badass, because then, you've got a 60, 70-year-old retired woman trying to take out this badass. It might seem even more fake than it already is. But just overall, like I said, I love this film. I love every minute of it. This is the sheer definition of a classic Troma film to me. I definitely love it. And even though we've downplayed some of the violence, I mean, we still get a great decapitation. We get a great throat slit. One of the most gnarly throat slits I've seen in a movie. Like, instead of the blood kind of just bursting out as soon as they cut the neck, the blood doesn't come out right away, so you can really see the cut being left on the neck. I thought that was a really nice touch. I mean, they probably did it more for budgetary reasons, but it ended up working out at the end, so I'm very happy with it. So yeah, this one, I am so happy I finally got a chance to talk about this one. Never got a chance to talk about this movie, and now I can put that on my bucket list that I finally got to talk about Surf Nazis Must Die. Thank you so much, Gary.
Oh, you're welcome, man. Thank you, Mr. Venom, always, There's a multitude of places to watch this movie. You can get it on DVD, maybe Blu-ray. I'm not sure. I don't think it's on American Blu-ray. I think it might be. I looked that up. But streaming, there's lots of options. You can go to Pluto TV, you can hit Tubi, you can hit Freebie, and with a subscription, surprisingly, it's on fucking Peacock. That's where I watched it, on fucking Peacock. A very nice print on Peacock, actually, too. And yeah, this is the winner, guys. Any day you swing it, if you're one of those people, I'm not going to use the word woke here, people, but the people that dissed Jojo Rabbit, if you're one of those people, you might not enjoy yourself so much, but I still enjoy myself, because, you know what? Evil did evil, and evil was punished at the end of the day, and Mama rode away on her panhead, and those front shots made you believe. You didn't believe she was driving that bike, but you know what? You wanted to believe it, and that's what a good film does. It makes you want to believe that an overweight black woman, elderly black woman, can drive this freaking panhead, and she probably can't. So, you did it, man. But, yeah, next up on this road to an endless summer, the end of it, if you will. I'm not sure what we're doing next. It might be Surf Ninjas, because I really want to talk about Surf Ninjas with somebody. And I didn't put that on the list I gave Venom, but Venom, goddamn, if you want to talk about Surf Ninjas, I'm down to clown with you, sir.
Maybe, yeah. That would be another first-time watch for me. I've actually, believe it or not, I've never seen Surf Ninjas.
Well, it's one of those things where it came from my childhood, which I'm trying to do more of on these, It's like, hey, who wants to talk about the Three Ninjas franchise? I'd be, that's where I learned about pressure points. Come on now. But that's the end of this one, though. Evil has been punished, like I said.
And I will be right back to close out the show. Well, folks, it's the end of the show, and I'd like to thank Mr. Venom for coming on and doing these couple things to me. Like I said, it's supposed to be much bigger than this, but it didn't really pan out. My brain functions at half mast sometimes, and I can't really help my emotional state and the ability to get things done. But I did something today to help myself be more productive. Not only with the podcast, be more productive at work, in my downtime. So hopefully content faster with more confidence and me having more time to do it will come with you in the post-production front on me, just to get it done for you guys and for myself and for my own personal growth, if you will. Lots of stuff coming for you guys to listen to. I won't get into all of it here, but I found a bunch of content that I previously recorded. Fun stuff. If you ever want to hear a rant about Nightbreed, you have that coming with the amazing Big Bill Casanelli, one of my favorite guineas of all time, and his partner Tanya from the Horror Mafia podcast, the terrible Tanya, if you will. Yeah, that's all coming. Looking great forward to that, and for you guys to hear that. I listened to it today. It still tickles me to listen to somebody talk about Boone and his douchebag leather jacket the way I do, and I know there's a good handful of my friends that don't like Nightbreed either. So just wait for that genuine beef in an episode coming in your ears very soon, along with a whole lot of other stuff. Stuff to record. I record with John Cross tonight. What comes next, I have no idea. Whatever I get out, I don't announce it here. Whatever comes next. Yeah. Looking forward to all of it, and for you guys to hear all of it. And that's about it, though. But this has been the Beef Podcast, where if you got beef, we've got the grinder. Surf's up, hang 10, hang loose, all those generic surf terms. Much love. Bye-bye.